I initially thought to devote this topic to one of those post-election TikTok cope episodes, but I think there's actually something a bit more serious here that's worth talking about. Plus, I was getting bored of making nothing but election TikTok slop over and over. For those of you who don't know, after Trump won 2024, a very loud contingent of women took to social media to declare their support for something called the 4B movement. Here's what's going on. The 4B movement began in South Korea. The Korean symbol B means no, making the movement's name the 4 No's. The 4 rules are no sex with men, no giving birth, no dating men, and no marriage with men. The 4B movement has been floating around the South Korean feminist internet fringe since 2016, and it was sparked by the high-profile murder of a woman by a man who claimed that he did it because she ignored his advances. Online feminists in Korea were outraged that he wasn't charged with a hate crime. The 4B movement, in its original Korean conception, was also an explicitly female-centric movement. It viewed trans women as male infiltrators into their activism, who would only oppress them if they were allowed in, and gay men as these hyper-misogynists, who only had sex with each other because they found women to be disgusting. Which is why it's kind of funny to see modern Western progressive women take up the 4B label in America after Trump's win, considering how trans-inclusive they are. Nowadays, the 4B movement is kinda dead in South Korea. It's been replaced by the similar 6B4T movement. This time around, the original 4 No's are the same, plus 2 more. No buying sexist products, and no infighting among females. The T in the 4T part refers to the Korean symbol for mask, kinda sounding like the English letter T, and it talks about the 4 masks that Korean women are forced to wear in their society. Mask being a stand-in for these 4 beauty standards that Korean women are expected to uphold. The 4 standards are religious culture, idol culture, Japanese otaku culture, or more broadly just fandom, and what Koreans call corset culture, which basically just refers to modeling. This is all pretty normal feminist stuff, just with a Korean spin on it. Nothing really new here. But the adoption of the 4B label among progressives in America after Trump's win, and the resulting flood of insane TikToks, where women announce that they're joining the 4B movement, has led to a bunch of people taking notice. In its English language iteration, the 4B movement is basically a sex strike. Women have declared they're no longer going to have casual sex with men, or dress up, make themselves look pretty for men. Whatever, the fun times are over. Listen to them for yourself.
4B movement starting. You know what we're gonna do? We're not gonna dye our hair anymore. We're not gonna do makeup. We're not gonna use filters. We're not gonna go get the skin stuff. We're not gonna dress up and look nice.
Okay, like, if y'all hate women that much, I hope you never get pussy ever again.
All I have to say is good luck getting laid. Me and my girlies are participating in the 4B movement. That's my next plan. And I'm dead fucking serious.
Are we all participating in the 4B movement now?
Ladies, I'm not saying this to be facetious, but I don't care if you're a rose girl, a wand girl, or a monster alien tentacle girl. Stock up, because I promise you ain't no alive worth getting stuck with a man. None. We are taking coochie off the table indefinitely.
Now, I do want to point out that for conservative men, these women are doing exactly what they want them to do. Like, you guys know that, right? Conservative men have been saying for quite a while now, they don't want women to be promiscuous. They don't want them dressing in revealing sexual clothing. Some of them are even anti-makeup, depending how far you go. None of this is owning the men you hate. You guys know that? You're doing exactly what they want you to do by dressing and acting modestly. Boy, ladies, you sure showed them by immediately giving in to all their demands. The most extreme 4B reactions to Trump's win are the women who are shaving their heads to show solidarity against Trump and men in the patriarchy and whatever.
Just woke up this morning feeling spicy. You guys feel spicy? Because I do. All right. I don't know how to use this thing. Let's see what happens. Is this cutting off hair? I'm going to have to cut it shorter than that. That's it down, right? I think that this is too... It's getting hair. Let's see here. Maybe I got to cut it. Here we go. Have I given up on America? Yeah. I've also given up on coloring this hair because, right? Fuck coloring my hair. Fuck having my hair be long and luxurious. Fuck all that shit. Fuck being skinny. Fuck being hot. Fuck being all the things that the patriarchy wants us to be. Because clearly, they don't give a shit about us. And I'm talking to you too. Those of you ladies who have the internalized misogyny required to do what you did. Minorities who are so scared of a woman in power that you'd rather cozy up to the white man just in case some crumbs fall off his plate so that you may eat from them. Yes, scraps.
And you know what? I get the logic here. You make yourself as unattractive as possible in order to ward off unwanted male attention. This kind of thing's happened before. The best one-to-one comparison are the bhikkhuni, the nuns in Buddhism, who are women who have devoted themselves to their faith, shaved their heads, and spend their days performing various religious duties for their community, with minimal, though not zero, contact with men. In fact, though Christian nuns don't shave their heads, they still nonetheless present themselves as sexually unappealing as possible, as a component of their faith. And yes, I know, the weird fetish nuns don't actually count, though their existence is actually kind of interesting. I've heard that in areas in the Islamic world, where full body coverings for women are common, the weirdest male fetishes have also developed there, due to a total deprivation of anything remotely female-looking. Trying desperately to conceal all attractiveness probably leads to the social development of some strange sexual desires. And if the 4B movement actually stood a chance at becoming something more serious than just some terminally online retards, maybe one day we'd actually see a widespread bald chick fetish. Anyway, the point is, though the 4B movement isn't religious in nature, the more extreme women who are shaving their heads, they're following the same basic impulses. They have a moral code they feel very strongly about, which includes removing themselves from sexual activity with men, and their chosen presentation is both a way to make them appear less attractive, as well as to signal their devotion to their cause.
Can someone tell me what MAGA men find attractive so that I can wear the complete opposite? Thanks.
I get it, it's just dumb in this case. The 4B movement is just MGTOW for women, MGTOW meaning men going their own way. Both movements feel abused by the other sex, the entire other sex as a class of people, not just individuals of the other sex. And so their response to this has been to engage in political separatism. But personally, I've always viewed this as a trauma response. MGTOWs are often people who have been abused by shitty women, just as radfems are often people who have been abused by shitty men. Neither of them are actually able to deal with the external world as it is, and so they retreat into isolation instead. But even then, the 4B movement isn't even that. It's happening in response to Trump's electoral victory, not because these women had a string of bad boyfriends, or their dads beat them or raped them or something. It's happening because Trump won the fucking election. This is a truly insane response. But hey, I mean, you're entitled to your insane responses, I guess. Okay, let's try and steelman the feminist side of this. Let's look at this from the point of view of the women who are actually joining the 4B movement. A lot of them are very pro-choice. They're pissed about losing Roe v. Wade, and their logic is that they don't want to be impregnated and forced to carry a child to term by some random guy they're hooking up with, which by the way is completely reasonable. So if there's no abortion as a fallback option for contraception failing, they just don't want to take that risk, and so they're not sleeping with men anymore.
If you voted for that orange son of a bitch, man, as a man, you better not ask a woman to have an abortion or have a plan B.
So just to be clear, we will not be sleeping with men for the next 4 years, right? Because I don't know about y'all, but I will not be giving birth against my will if the worst happens. They already voted against our rights, so we might as well hit them where it hurts.
Of course, this is still them doing what conservative men want them to do, even when it's described from their own point of view. Less abortions, less promiscuity. At least on the consensual side of this conversation, the conservative male position and the progressive female position have harmonized. But where the conservative male thinks this is a good state of affairs, the progressive female thinks this is a necessary evil, something they must do to defend themselves. However, on the non-consensual side of the argument, well, that's where things kind of take a weird turn. The phrase, "my body, my choice," is a feminist slogan that emerged in 1969 as a rallying cry for women's rights to consent to sex, to consent to marriage, and to consent to childbirth, or to not consent to all three of these things. It's a slogan of bodily autonomy, the idea that individuals have self-determination over their own bodies without external domination. Philosophically, this idea is grounded in the values of individual choice and personal liberty, and as such, the slogan has been used across multiple domains, sometimes in service of political positions that progressives actually reject. Most notably during COVID, the phrase "my body, my choice" was used by anti-vaxxers as a rallying cry to reject the idea that they should be forced to get the COVID vaccine, a position which progressives routinely fought against. It's always funny to see a prog claim "my body, my choice" when it comes to abortion, but also to watch them have the most anti-choice positions when it comes to vaccines. The problem for the progressive here is that they have laid their foundation in the realm of individual choice, and so when individuals choose to do something that is very anti-progressive with their own bodies, the progressive simply sounds like a hypocrite. Anyway, after Trump's 2024 win, Nick Fuentes posted to Twitter an alternate version of the slogan, "Your body, my choice, forever." This counter slogan had been in use in various anti-feminist memes on the internet for years, but it never really took off. After Fuentes posted it though, it massively blew up and became a rallying cry for an extremely anti-promiscuous section of the online right. A clip of Nick Fuentes expanding on this from his live stream began to be reposted all over TikTok.
The feel when we control your bodies. Hey bitch, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again. We will keep you down forever. You will never control your own bodies.
You know what? Maybe the Korean feminists were onto something when they said that gay men were actually just misogynists. As a result of all this, progressives began to dox Nick Fuentes, stating "your house, my choice," until a random feminist actually showed up at Nick's place, where he promptly blasted her with pepper spray. He's since been arrested for the incident. And of course, you have weird submissive fetishist chicks saying, my body, his choice. Because anytime there's a gendered culture war, there's always going to be some minority of people who say they're actually into it, so fuck it. Now, you know what? I totally get it. I understand why some of these women began to go insane online at the phrase, your body, my choice.
You better handle your sons, because the first one of them little shits that walks up to my daughter and says, your body, my choice, is gonna be picking themselves up off the fucking ground.
If a man comes up to me and he tells me, your body, my choice, I'm slapping the fuck out of you. Probably gonna curb stomp you. Probably gonna end up in prison.
After hearing about all these guys saying, your body, my choice, I was like, you know what? Bet. You guys are gonna fuck around and find out.
I left out the audio of these ones on screen because they contained more explicit threats. But yeah, I don't blame them for being angry. It's one thing to be a conservative and believe abortion and casual sex are immoral and want to see them reduced. It's another thing entirely to be pro-raping babies into women because you view them as inherently inferior. All joking aside, on this point, all of that female ire is totally justified. Returning to the sex strike part of the topic though, it is a little bit more complicated. Like, check out this TikTok specifically.
Hey, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you're ugly and dumb. And that's sad for you. And what's even sadder is that you don't even realize how ugly and dumb you are. Scum. Bottom of the barrel scum. Literal pond scum. Go fuck yourselves.
Jesus Christ, that ceiling bird. Okay, what is her point here, do you think? That because Trump won the election, his supporters are ugly? Is she just being an asshole? Maybe, but maybe not. Check out this one next.
I personally think that if all of these men are voting to take our rights away, they don't deserve to touch a woman for the next 4 years. So, hope you thought that through, you guys.
So, there have been sex strikes throughout history, in multiple societies, where women as a class have withheld sex from men in order to effect some type of change. They don't seem to be consistently effective, but there are at least a couple of historic examples where a sex strike actually worked. However, this TikTok manages to capture the essence of a sex strike. Look at the language she uses here.
They don't deserve to touch a woman for the next 4 years. Hope you thought that through, you guys.
These men don't deserve to touch a woman, as if women were a prize that men earn. Or like this one from earlier in the video.
They already voted against our rights, so we might as well hit them where it hurts.
Hit them where it hurts. Like it's only men who desire sex. Like men as a class can just be led around by their dicks or something. These are apparently progressive women, guys. Feminist women. Women who shouldn't view sex as a reward given out to men for good behavior, since they're constantly blasting men who view sex in this way as misogynistic and patriarchal. Okay, fair enough, but why are these progressive women now suddenly defaulting to this misogynistic assumption about sex? I'm reminded of this meme, where the woman is saying, wow, I don't know how to respond to what you just said, so I'll call you an incel, because having sex is the only unit of value I understand. Back when I was younger, women insulting men by calling them virgins was pretty commonplace, regardless of whether or not it was actually true. And for a lot of guys I know, including myself, at least before I got laid for the first time, it was actually a pretty cutting insult as a young fella. The reason for this, I think, boils down to some fundamental selection mechanics in heterosexual interactions. This next part is me just shooting from the hip, so don't take my word for it. We've all heard the idea that women are the gatekeepers of sex. That seems to be true. It does make sense biologically. In the wild, women have a potential 9-month investment to pay off after having sex with a man, while a man can literally fuck a woman and disappear. I don't have much hard evidence for this, but it intuitively seems correct to me that human psychology has evolved such that women are the choosers while men are the chosen. This is why it feels validating for a man to be chosen by a woman. It means they're worthy. This is also why a woman laughing at a man for his lack of sexual experience cuts deep. It's a declaration that he's so unworthy that not only will she not choose him, no woman will. And the deepest cut of all is when a man rejects a woman. Those cause probably the craziest freakouts on average, I'd have to guess. Because for a chooser to be rejected by a chosen is a signal that the woman in question is so poor quality that it even overrides her biological advantage in this matter. When it became improper by progressive moral standards to shame someone for their sexual habits, calling men virgins went the way of the dodo. It was replaced by calling men incels, where it served basically the same purpose, but now they could run cover by appealing to the incel ideology that is also attached to the label. Progressive women would present incel men as undesirable, bottom of the barrel, worthy of fear, as they would with virgin men before. But this time it's socially acceptable, since incel refers not strictly to those who are involuntarily celibate, as in not getting any action, but it also refers to those who adhere to the ideology of the incel movement, that gender equality is a lie, and non-alpha men, whatever that means, will always be viewed as an underclass by women. Again, I have no hard and fast evidence for any of this. It's just what my intuition tells me. I could be wrong here. But the reason I bring all of this up is because I think there is at least some truth to it. And I think this whole 4B thing is, in part, progressive women going mask off about the whole thing once again. That meme with the pink-haired girl targets women who think that not being able to respond to a man's arguments that they object to is a situation best resolved by insulting his assumed lack of sexual prowess. The meme makes fun of women who fall back on incel as an insult by pointing out that she only sees value in sex, and so that's how she chooses to insult him. She's not insulting his lack of money, or his nerdy hobbies, or his fashion sense, though for sure there are absolutely women who do all of those things. But this meme is targeting a specific type of woman who looks at a man, says his value is in his sexual experience, and then insults him by saying he lacks that experience. Do you get what I mean? Let's go back to this TikTok once again.
I personally think that if all of these men are voting to take our rights away, they don't deserve to touch a woman for the next 4 years. So, hope you thought that through, you guys.
They don't deserve to touch a woman. I hope you thought that through. The way she's speaking about the 4B sex strike makes it sound like it's her view that not only are women depriving men of something that men want, but also that this deprivation is a one-way street. Remember, women are the gatekeepers of sex. Women choose, men are chosen. Sex grants status to men. All of these old patriarchal views of sex that this supposed progressive feminist is employing here intersects with a meaning buried beneath the pink-haired meme. What's being said here is that men have value because they have sex, and they have sex because women choose them for sex. The virgin, or the incel, is a low-value man because women don't choose him, which is why it's such a cutting insult to be called a virgin or an incel, even if you're not one. And when the 4B sex strike women say they're withholding sex, what's embedded into that declaration is that they're also withholding status from men as well, as if sex is actually a one-way street in this strange, almost Victorian sense, that only men truly want sex, and women can control men's actions through sexual access. Well, that last part might actually be true for simps, sure. Unscrupulous women can get simps to do whatever they want. But I want to point out here that I don't actually believe this stuff, but rather that these 4B women are kind of tipping their hand. They're showing that they believe in these older, more patriarchal ideas of sex, now that push has come to shove. For me personally, sexual manipulation is a poor substitute for love. I'm at the point in my life now where, you know what? No, I'm not going to do something just because a pretty girl says so, and I don't care how sweet of a tone of voice she asks it in. But for Naomi, I'll do pretty much anything for her, even on her least sexually attractive days. You know, like if she's sick or something. Okay, you guys know what I mean. Don't tell her this, okay? The point is, conservative men are cheering that the 4B movement is leading women to do what they want them to do. And for non-conservative men, I don't think this will go the way the women think that it'll go. I do actually think that most guys are wise to the game at this point. They genuinely do understand that the feminists have a point. Sex should not actually be viewed as a reward that women give out to men for good behavior. And now that guys understand that, the fact that so many of these women have reverted to dangling sex as a reward, once again, it just kind of looks disgusting, you know what I mean? Like, even if I was single, would I want to fuck a girl that uses sex as a manipulation tactic? I don't think I would. It sounds kind of gross. So that is what I think of the 4B movement and the sex strike that's coming out of it. I understand the objection to the your body, my choice shit. That stuff is actually fucking heinous. But beyond that, I think this whole thing is going to blow up in the face of progressive women, especially if they actually apply it to all men they meet. One, they'll be depriving themselves of the opportunities to enter into fulfilling relationships with those decent guys that do come along.
These women who are swearing off sleeping with you and men in general, they're not shaping up to be perfect wives. They are saying they would rather die alone than marry you or be with you in any way, shape, or form.
And I promise you, those guys will be snapped up real quick by women who aren't on the sex strike. Two, they're basically playing into the hands of conservatives by dressing and behaving in a less promiscuous manner. And three, towards the non-conservative men, they're signaling that they actually have a very toxic view of what human sexuality is meant to be, making them, frankly, just not great dating material. Women might gatekeep sex, but it's men who gatekeep relationships. Also, some of these bitches are just fucking insane. Like, I don't even know what to say to this one.
We should just start leaving our dirty tampons everywhere. Because if men want so much control over us, they can deal with our dirty tampons. Clean it up.